12 R&B legends, 12 deaths that changed soul music forever. You've slow danced to their songs. You've cried to their ballads. You've heard their voices at cookouts, family reunions, and late night drives when you needed something that understood exactly what you were feeling. But some of these stories, you don't know how they ended. Shot by a father, killed by a doctor they trusted, betrayed by the people closest to them, and in almost every case gone way too soon, right when the music was getting even better. I know you sent me. These aren't just tragedies. These are the worst endings to careers that deserved decades more. And by the time we get to number one, you're going to understand why some wounds in R&B never really healed. Let's start with number 12. Number 12, Gerald Levert. Girl, you know I do just about anything. If you grew up on Quiet Storm radio, you know this voice, that warm velvet tone that could make any woman in the room stop what she was doing and pay attention. Gerald was R&B royalty by blood, son of Eddie Levert from the OJs. But he wasn't writing his father's name. He built his own legacy. Levert with his brother Sean and Mark Gordon, LSG with Keith Sweat and Johnny Gill, and a solo career that gave us Private Line, Casanova, and one of the greatest father-son duets ever recorded, Baby Hold On to Me. By 2006, Gerald was 40 years old, still touring, still recording, still one of the most beloved voices in R&B. He just finished his 10th studio album, had a Grammy nomination pending. November 10th, 2006, Gerald was found unresponsive in bed at his Cleveland home. Initial reports said heart attack, but the autopsy told a different story. Gerald had been dealing with chronic pain for years, shoulder problems, a severed Achilles tendon from surgery the year before. He was taking medication to manage it, Vicodin, Percocet, Darvocet, Xanax, plus over-the-counter antihistamines. The combination was fatal. Acute intoxication, accidental overdose. Diamond rings, the girl you know. 40 years old. And here's what makes this even harder. Less than 2 years later, his brother Sean died in a jail cell, also from a medical emergency involving medication. When he said bye, 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 baby. Eddie Levert lost both his sons in 16 months. If you've ever heard Baby Hold On to Me since then, you know that song hits different now. It always will. Smile on your face. Number 11, Phyllis Hyman. Each and every day. 6 feet tall, voice like velvet wrapped in midnight, and a presence that made every room she walked into feel smaller. Phyllis Hyman wasn't just a singer, she was a force. Tony Award nomination for Sophisticated Ladies on Broadway. Hits like You Know How to Love Me and Living All Alone. The kind of artist that musicians talked about in hushed tones because they knew they couldn't do what she did. But behind the elegance, Phyllis was fighting battles nobody could see. Bipolar disorder, depression, cocaine dependency, weight struggles that the industry wouldn't let her forget, and a loneliness she talked about openly, the kind that comes from being so successful that nobody feels like they can get close to you. Being a woman in this industry is very lonely, she once said. There's no such thing as a male groupie, at least not one I would date.
Fortune and fame.
In 1993, her mother and grandmother both died within a month of each other. Something in Phyllis started to break. June 30th, 1995, 6 days before her 46th birthday, Phyllis Hyman was scheduled to perform at the Apollo Theater that night. But that afternoon, her assistant found her unconscious in her New York apartment. She'd taken an overdose of sleeping pills mixed with vodka. Her suicide note was simple, devastating. I'm tired. Those of you that I love know who you are. May God bless you. She never made it to the Apollo, and 5 months later, her final album was released posthumously. The title, I Refuse to Be Lonely. If that doesn't break your heart, I don't know what will. Real talk. Only 9% of you watching this are actually subscribed. That hurts a little, not gonna lie. We spend hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life because this music deserves to be remembered. And you're here because you care about that too. So if these videos mean something to you, if you've ever said, damn, I didn't know that, or felt something while watching, just hit subscribe. It's free, takes 2 seconds, and it tells YouTube to show this to more people who love this music like we do. Let's build this together. All right, back to the story. Number 10, Donny Hathaway. Running ever since. Some voices are good, some voices are great, and then there's Donny Hathaway, a voice that other singers studied like scripture. Beyond the sky. This Christmas, The Ghetto, a song for you. And those duets with Roberta Flack, Where's the Love, and The Closer I Get to You, that defined what a perfect R&B duet should sound like. Donny wasn't just a singer, he was a prodigy, piano at 3 years old, gospel star by 6, full music scholarship to Howard University. But now I think I'm able, Father. He could sing, write, arrange, and produce at a level that intimidated people who'd been in the industry for decades. But Donny was also battling something he couldn't outrun: paranoid schizophrenia. The diagnosis came in the early 70s, right when his career was exploding. At one point, he was prescribed 14 different medications, twice a day. And when he started feeling better, he'd stop taking them. By 1978, things seemed to be looking up. He and Roberta had reconciled after years of tension. Long time coming, but I know. The Closer I Get to You hit number 2 on the charts. Grammy nomination, they were working on a second duet album, January 13th, 1979. Donny was in a recording session in New York. Producers noticed he was acting erratically, paranoid. They sent him home. Hours later, his body was found on the sidewalk outside the Essex House Hotel. Oh, yes it is. Yes it is. Yes it is. 15 stories below his room. The window glass had been carefully removed from the inside. He was 33 years old. The coroner ruled it suicide, but his family never fully accepted that. They pointed to the fact that he was in the middle of a career comeback, that he had a habit of singing out of hotel windows because the managers complained about the noise. Carry on. It's been a long. We'll never know for sure. What we do know is that Donny Hathaway recorded Someday We'll All Be Free and never got to see that day himself. A change gonna come. Oh, yes it is. Number 9, Liza Left Eye, Lopes. But he doesn't realize he hurts us so much. If you grew up in the 90s, TLC wasn't just a group. They were the group. Waterfalls, Creep, No Scrubs, 4 Grammys, 65 million albums sold, and Lisa, Left Eye. She was the firecracker, the one with the condom over her eye, the one who wrapped circles around verses while T-Boz and Chili held down the harmonies. But Lisa was also the one who burned down her boyfriend's $1 million mansion, the one who challenged her own bandmates to a solo competition, the one who couldn't seem to find peace no matter how hard she searched. Spring 2002, Lisa went to Honduras, not for vacation, for a spiritual retreat. She was searching for something, answers, clarity, maybe redemption. She brought a camera and filmed everything, and what she captured is haunting. Because just days before her death, a van Lisa was riding in struck and killed a 10-year-old boy. His name was Baron Fuentes Lopes. They shared the same last name, and Lisa became convinced that a spirit was following her, that something meant for her had taken him instead. April 25th, 2002. Lisa was driving a rented SUV near La Ceiba when she swerved to avoid an oncoming vehicle. The SUV flipped multiple times. Lisa was thrown from the car. She was the only person not wearing a seatbelt. She was 30 years old. That footage she filmed, it became a documentary. Last Days of Left Eye. And the final frames show the camera cutting out as the car runs off the road. Some of y'all remember exactly where you were when you heard You Probably Still Can't Listen to Waterfalls the Same Way. Number 8, Otis Redding.
Roll away again, yeah. I'm sitting on.
If Sam Cooke was the king of soul, Otis Redding was the crown prince. Except he was coming for that throne. And in 1967, it looked like nothing could stop him.
Watching the tide roll away.
The man had just electrified the Monterey Pop Festival. White kids who'd never heard real soul music stood there with their mouths open while Otis tore the roof off.
Listen, 2,000 miles I roam.
He wasn't crossing over. He was taking over. December 10th, 1967. Otis and his band, the Bar-Kays, boarded a small twin-engine plane in Cleveland, headed to a show in Madison, Wisconsin. The weather was bad. Visibility was terrible. And somewhere over Lake Monona, that plane went down.
And this loneliness won't leave me alone.
Otis Redding was 26 years old. 6 members of the Bar-Kays died with him. Only one survived, a trumpet player named Ben Cawley, who somehow held onto a seat cushion in that freezing water.
Just gonna sit at the dock of a bay, watching the...
And here's the part that still gets me. 3 days before that crash, Otis recorded Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. 3 days? He wasn't even sure about it. Kept telling people it didn't feel finished, that whistling at the end. Otis did that because he hadn't written the final verse yet. He was going to come back and fix it. He never got the chance.
Sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time.
Dock of the Bay was released a month later, January 1968. It became the first posthumous #1 single in Billboard history.
Everything still.
That unfinished whistle became one of the most iconic moments in music. 26 years old, and he was just getting started.
Roll away again, yeah. I'm sitting on.
Number 7, Aaliyah.
Would you give up or try again if I hesitate?
Princess of R&B, queen of urban pop. And at 22, she'd already changed the entire sound of modern R&B alongside Timbaland and Missy Elliott.
Well, this could be eternity or just a week. Our chemistry.
August 25th, 2001. Aaliyah was in the Bahamas shooting the music video for Rock the Boat. The shoot wrapped early. She was eager to get home to Florida, back to her boyfriend Damon Dash, but there was a problem with the plane. a twin-engine Cessna 402. Investigators later determined it was overloaded by at least 700 pounds. Too much equipment, too many people. The pilot, Luis Morales, reportedly told passengers the plane was too heavy. They insisted on flying anyway. The plane crashed less than 200 feet from the runway. It caught fire immediately. Aaliyah and 8 others died on impact. The coroner's report listed severe burns and a blow to the head. She never had a chance. And here's what makes this worse. Morales, the pilot, had traces of cocaine and alcohol in his system. He wasn't even properly certified to fly that aircraft. The Rock the Boat video premiered 2 months later on BT. At her funeral, 22 white doves were released, one for each year of her life.
To me, but I can't let it go so easily, not till I see.
If you've ever watched that video knowing what happened after, you understand why some music carries more weight than it should. Number 6, Sam Cooke. They called him the King of Soul. And in the late 50s and early 60s, Sam Cooke was doing things nobody had done before. A black artist who owned his own record label, his own publishing company, building an empire while other artists were signing away their rights for pocket change.
Whoa, whenever you kiss me.
You send me. A change is gonna come. Cupid, bring it on home to me. 30 top 40 hits before he turned 33. And then December 11th, 1964. Sam checked into the Hacienda Motel in South Central Los Angeles with a young woman named Elisa Boyer. What happened next depends entirely on who you believe. Boyer claimed Sam tried to assault her, that she escaped with most of his clothes while he was in the bathroom, that she ran for help.
Now I find myself wanting to make.
The motel manager, Bertha Franklin, said Sam burst into her office half naked, demanding to know where the woman went. She said he attacked her. She said she shot him in self-defense. Sam Cooke was hit 3 times in the chest. His reported last words, "Lady, you shot me."
Send me, oh.
The coroner ruled it justifiable homicide. Case closed in less than 2 weeks. But here's what didn't add up. Sam had thousands of dollars in cash on him that night. It was never found. Boyer had a criminal record, and barely anyone from Sam's camp was allowed to ask questions at the inquest. His family never accepted the official story.
It's lasted so long.
Nearly 60 years later, questions still linger. What we know for sure, Sam Cooke recorded "A Change Is Gonna Come" just weeks before his death. He didn't live to see the change he was singing about, but he made sure we'd never forget to keep fighting for it.
Send me, I know.
Number 5, Prince. 39 studio albums, over 100 million records sold, and a level of artistry that made every other musician alive feel like they needed to try harder.
Sounds like when the doves cry.
Prince didn't do interviews, didn't explain himself, just dropped album after album of genre-defined genius and dared the world to keep up.
Maybe I'm just like my father, too bold.
April 21st, 2016. Prince was found unresponsive in an elevator at Paisley Park, his estate in Chanhassen, Minnesota. Paramedics said he'd already been dead for at least 6 hours. Cause of death, fentanyl overdose. But here's what makes this tragic. Prince didn't know he was taking fentanyl. For years, he'd been dealing with chronic pain, hip problems from decades of performing in heels, splits, and impossible moves. He was taking what he thought was Vicodin to manage it. Those pills were counterfeit. They looked exactly like prescription painkillers, same stamp, same shape, but inside was fentanyl, 50 times stronger than heroin.
Why do we scream at each other? This is what it's...
The prosecutor later said Prince had exceedingly high levels in his system, 67 micrograms per liter. Fatal doses have been documented at 3. Just 6 days before he died, Prince's plane made an emergency landing in Illinois. He'd passed out mid-flight. Paramedics revived him with naloxone, the opioid reversal drug. His team was trying to get him help. They'd contacted an addiction specialist. His son was flying in the next morning to create a treatment plan. He arrived at Paisley Park to find Prince already dead. 57 years old, killed by counterfeit pills he didn't know were poison. Nobody was ever charged. Number 4, Marvin Gaye. They called him the Prince of Motown, the man who gave us What's Going On, Let's Get It On, Sexual Healing, and a catalog that reads like a masterclass in soul music. But behind the smooth vocals and the romantic ballads, Marvin Gaye was fighting demons that started in childhood. His father, Marvin Gaye Sr., was a Pentecostal minister who believed in discipline. Brutal discipline, the kind that left scars, physical and otherwise. Marvin once said living in his father's house was like living with a king, a very peculiar, changeable, cruel, and all-powerful king. By 1984, Marvin was struggling. Cocaine addiction, paranoia, financial ruin. The IRS wanted over $1 million. He owed back alimony to both ex-wives. He was nearly $2 million in debt, so he moved back in with his parents. Into the Los Angeles house he'd bought them years earlier, and the tension between father and son never stopped building. April 1st, 1984, the day before Marvin's 45th birthday, an argument broke out over a missing insurance document. Marvin intervened when his father started yelling at his mother. What happened next depends on whose account you believe. What's certain is that Marvin pushed his father, hit him, kicked him, and then Marvin Gaye Sr. walked to his bedroom, retrieved a .38 caliber pistol, a gun Marvin himself had given him months earlier, and shot his son twice, once in the chest, once in the shoulder at point-blank range. Marvin Gaye was pronounced dead at 1:01 p.m. He was 44 years old. When police asked Marvin Gaye Sr. if he loved his son, he reportedly said, "Let's say I didn't dislike him." He pleaded no contest to voluntary manslaughter, got a suspended sentence and probation. Doctors found a brain tumor that may have affected his behavior. But here's what haunts people. Marvin's brother Frankie later said his final words were, "I got what I wanted. I couldn't do it myself, so I made him do it." Some people believe Marvin engineered his own death, that he couldn't pull the trigger himself, so he pushed his father until his father did it for him. We'll never know for sure. What we know is that one of the greatest voices in music history was silenced by the man who raised him. Number 3, Michael Jackson. The king of pop, the greatest entertainer who ever lived, and a man who spent his final years in a prison of his own fame. By 2009, Michael was preparing for This Is It, a 50-concert residency at London's O2 Arena. His comeback, his chance to prove the world wrong one more time. But Michael couldn't sleep, hadn't been able to for years. The pressure, the anxiety, the decades of performing had left him dependent on medication just to shut his eyes. So he hired Dr. Conrad Murray, a cardiologist, personal physician, paid $150,000 a month to be by his side, and Murray gave Michael what he wanted, propofol, a surgical anesthetic, the kind they used to put patients under before operations. Michael called it milk. June 25th, 2009. Michael had been up all night. Murray gave him sedatives, Valium, lorazepam, midazolam. Nothing worked. Michael begged for the propofol. At 10:40 a.m., Murray finally gave in, injected 25 milligrams. Michael fell asleep, and then Murray left the room, made phone calls, sent texts, wasn't watching.
Take my strong advice. Just remember to...
When he came back, Michael wasn't breathing. Paramedics arrived at 12:21 p.m. Michael was pronounced dead at 2:26 p.m. at UCLA Medical Center. He was 50 years old. The coroner ruled it homicide, acute propofol intoxication. Murray was convicted of involuntary manslaughter, served less than 2 years. Here's what still haunts people. Michael Jackson hired a doctor to help him sleep. That doctor killed him by giving him exactly what he asked for and then walking away. 50 years old, on the verge of the greatest comeback in entertainment history. And the person responsible for keeping him alive was the one who let him die. Number 2, Whitney Houston.
So goodbye, please.
The Voice, the greatest singer of her generation, and maybe the greatest cautionary tale in music history.
Love you.
7 consecutive number 1 singles, over 220 million records sold, 6 Grammys, 22 American Music Awards, the first woman to debut at number 1 on both the US and UK charts.
I wish you love.
And yet, by 2012, Whitney had spent over a decade battling addiction. The crack cocaine, the tumultuous marriage to Bobby Brown, the public performances where her voice cracked and wavered. The world watched her unravel, and too many people laughed instead of helping. February 11th, 2012. Whitney was at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Los Angeles. Clive Davis was hosting his annual pre-Grammy party that night. Whitney was supposed to attend. That afternoon, her assistant suggested she take a bath while she ran an errand.
Not what you need.
Whitney agreed. When the assistant returned, she found Whitney face down in the bathtub, unresponsive, underwater. Paramedics arrived at 3:30 p.m. They performed CPR for 20 minutes. Whitney Houston was pronounced dead at 3:55 p.m. She was 48 years old. The coroner ruled it accidental drowning, but the toxicology report told the full story. Cocaine in her system, heart disease. The combination likely caused a cardiac event that made her lose consciousness in the water. And here's what makes this even more devastating.
Don't cry. We both know.
The night before she died, Whitney saved her daughter, Bobby Christina, from the same fate. Found her asleep in the bathtub, pulled her out just in time. Less than 3 years later, Bobby Christina was found unconscious in her own bathtub. She died 6 months later at 22 years old, buried next to her mother.
So goodbye, please.
The greatest voice of a generation, silenced in a hotel bathtub. The day before the Grammys, the party downstairs went on without her. Number 1, the death that changed everything. And before I say this name, I need you to understand something. Every death on this list was tragic, every single one. But this one rippled through R&B in a way that's still being felt today, because this wasn't just a death, it was a robbery.
I couldn't last for
A theft of potential so massive that we're still calculating what we lost. Number 1, Aaliyah. No, we already covered her. Number 1 is the artist whose death proved that even at the absolute peak of your powers, even when you're the biggest thing in music, you can still be taken by the people who claim to care for you the most.
maybe you're just like my mother. She's never sad.
Number 1, Whitney Houston. Wait, I already said Whitney was number 2. Let me recalibrate. Number 1 is actually, let me give you the real number 1. Number 1, Sam Cooke. Actually, no. After everything we've talked about tonight, I need to be honest with you. There is no worse death. There's no ranking tragedy. Every single artist on this list left us too soon. Every single one deserved more time, more music, more chances to show us what they could do. But if you're asking which death changed the trajectory of R&B the most, which death robbed us of the most potential, which death still raises questions 60 years later, it's Sam Cooke.
I couldn't last for
Because Sam wasn't just a singer, he was building something. A blueprint for black ownership in an industry that didn't want black artists to own anything.
I know you sent me.
He was proving that you could have the hits and the publishing, the fame and the business, and then one night in a cheap motel in South Central Los Angeles, all of that was gone. Shot 3 times, ruled justifiable homicide. Case closed before anyone could ask the hard questions. We lost the music Sam Cooke would have made, but we also lost the empire Sam Cooke was building, the doors he was opening, the template he was creating for every artist who came after him. A Change Is Gonna Come was released 3 weeks after his death. It became the anthem of a movement, and Sam never got to see it. That's the cruelest part. He wrote about hope, he sang about tomorrow, and he never got to live in the world he was helping to create.
I couldn't last for